Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter. Before you go, please remember to subscribe. In Jamaica's football, there was a time, possibly spanning the 70s, 80s and 90s, when getting into Jamaica's national team as a locks-wearing Rastafarian was all but impossible. Albeit in that era, the nation's most illustrious footballer was a Rastafarian, the great Allan Skill Cole, a man who proudly wore his locks. Back in those dark days of rampant religious discrimination, many gifted Rastafarians were sidelined because the coaches claimed that because of their lifestyle, not eating meat, drinking milk, and smoking ganja, they claimed that the Rastafarians of that time were not as physically capable as their meat-eating counterparts. As a result, many talented Rastafarians, such as Wadada's Allan Aaron, Seba United's Alton Noah Sterling, and Alan Lati, Black Lions' wily magician Wimpy Mitchell, were either not called to the national team or had to have someone speak up on their behalf, as former St. James FA President Westmore Thomas did for Lati and Creature. In the 1990s, Thomas had to threaten the late Jeffrey Maxwell, who was then the national coach, that if he did not select Lati, who was one of the hottest midfielders in the country at the time, he would personally lobby in his capacity as a vice president of the Jamaica Football Federation for him to lose the job as national coach. In the case of Noah, it was difficult to justify not selecting him. He was the physical match of just about any robust footballer in the country, and he had just led Seba United, the local club football history, when they became the first rural team to be crowned national club champions. When Noah got into the team, it was difficult for the coaches to bypass him, because at the time, Allan Cole, a fellow Rastafarian, was the best footballer, and no football coach or JF president could ever harbor the thought of not selecting Cole for Jamaica if he was available and wanted to play. Cole was not just the best player in Jamaica, but also in the entire Caribbean and possibly North America. He was such a fabulous player that when he played against a Brazilian club team here in Jamaica, they were so impressed by his raw talent that he was immediately offered a contract to play professional club football in Brazil, the first outsider to be so honored. While Jamaica's football is chock full of ungrateful players, it was rather nice to see Noah, who is now based in the United States, reaching out to have an outlet created for him to express his condolences to Cole's family. When news broke in September 2025 that Cole, who was also a legend of Santos Football Club in Jamaica, had died. In an interview I did with Noah for The Gleaner, he spoke glowingly of how Cole impacted his life and off the football field, with his genuine friendship as a fellow Rastafarian who fully embraced the true meaning of brethren. The story generated was published in The Gleaner on September 12, 2025, under the headline, Sterling hailed Skill Cole as the ultimate teammate and friend. It read as follows. Former national midfield star Alton Noah Sterling, who is now based in the United States, says the death of his former teammate Allan Skill Cole has come as a big surprise to him, because while he would speak to the fellow midfielder from time to time, he had no idea he was not in good health. When I heard the news, it shook me up because this man was my brethren, both inside and outside of football, said Sterling. We regularly call up each other and talk about the good old days. We were two Rastafarian players on the team at a time when, if you were not an exceptional Rastafarian player, it was difficult to get into the team. In fact, Sterling, who was forced to walk away from the St. Elizabeth Technical High School, the Costa Cup team, during his schoolboy football days because of his refusal to eat meat and drink milk, said having the exceptionally talented Cole in the national team when he played created a buffer against discrimination. As with Cole, the best player on the team, a Rastafarian, there was no room to facilitate discrimination. Allan was like my brother. We look out for each other and it made life so much easier in the national team, said Sterling, who like Cole had the distinction of playing professional football overseas in his prime. If you can remember, Allan came down to Montego Bay to play with us in an exhibition game at Jarrett Park. Interestingly, in the era when Cole was the dominant midfielder for Santos FC, when that club dominated the then craven National Premier League, Sterling was playing much the same role at Montego Bay's Seba United, which was a dominant rural team in Jamaica at the time. Cole also had a soft spot for another top-flight Montego Bay player, the legendary Paul Teagat Davis. He regularly stated that if Davis had gotten a break in one of the world's top clubs, he might well have become a much bigger football personality than just being the Caribbean Footballer of the Year in 1991. Allan was a man who respected good talent, so when he saw the talent that existed in Montego Bay back in the day, he showed us a lot of love and respect, said Sterling. Allan was one of those players who, regardless of which team he was playing for, whenever he came to Montego Bay, he got a lot of love from both players and fans. I want to express my condolences to his family and just to say that he will be greatly missed. Former St. James Football Association President Westmore Thomas, who presided over the parish's football during the glory days of the 1980s and 1990s, also had fond memories of Cole, who was reportedly expressing an interest in playing in St. James Club football at one time. Allan Skill Cole, what a player I was, wrote Thomas in a Facebook post. One sunny afternoon in Montego Bay, Cornwall College versus Very Technical, Allan Skill Cole, Kenneth Bob Campbell and Herbert Dega Gordon light up Cornwall College football field. R.I.P. Allan Skill Cole. In a fact box which was published with the article, the question was asked, who was Allan Skill Cole? And the answers read as follows. Footballer. Cole was a celebrated midfielder for the Santos Football Club and represented Jamaica internationally, becoming the youngest ever senior national team player at age 15. International career. He played professionally in the United States with the Atlanta Chiefs and in Brazil with Náutico. Cultural figure. Beyond his sporting achievements, Cole was a close friend of Bob Marley and managed Marley's 1980 tour. The significance of Sterling's statement. Tribute from a peer. Sterling's words are a significant tribute from a fellow Jamaican football great, understanding Cole's lasting impact on the sport. Allan Cole will always be remembered. He was one of the great football generals. Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter.